Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning, coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios, locations across the state of Florida, right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. Also, Comfort Temp Heating and Air is your number one local HVAC company. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Today's show is, we'll have Brent Beaird here in just a second. Then you'll have JC with his little segment called Win with JC. Let's go straight to the Titan & More hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How you doing, bud?
Shane, enjoying the cooler weather, my friend. It's somewhat in the 50s, so that's a nice change. But we've got big games coming up this weekend too.
Yeah, it should be a good weekend, no question about that. Brent, the AP poll obviously came out early this week. Anything surprise you in it?
Well, the Big Ten had the top two spots, Ohio State, Indiana. It still takes a little bit of adjustment to see Indiana being number two, doesn't it, Shane? But the highest ranked team in the SEC is Texas A&M. So Alabama and Georgia coming up after that. And also to see Georgia Tech at number 7, Ole Miss, Miami 8, 9, Vanderbilt at 10. We're seeing some teams, Shane, we thought we'd never see years ago, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, the parity in college football is outstanding right now. It's fun to watch. You know, I saw a clip the other day of the standings in the Southeastern Conference right now. You know, usually this time of the year, you already kind of knew who was going to be going to Atlanta. You have no idea at this point who may go to Atlanta and who may make the playoffs. So, Brent, there's a few, I don't know if they're called high-profile games, but UCLA's got to play at Indiana. UCLA's playing better. There's a big game, USF at Memphis, obviously Mizzou at Vandy. Which of those games to you are the ones you're most interested in?
Well, the amazing thing is this late in the season, we actually have a game at Vanderbilt, which we normally would have never seen this time of year. But that's going to be a fascinating game, and certainly give credit to Vandy for what they have done in the season that they have had at this point, which in a lot of ways is amazing. But again, good games in the SEC. The Big Ten has about 4 teams at the top. The SEC stretches through at least 6 or 7 at this point too. So, and it's a fascinating game at Vanderbilt with Missouri. Missouri's had a good year. Also, you've got 2 good quarterbacks in this game. Bo Pribula of Missouri, Diego Pavia, who is still a star at Vanderbilt. So. It's truly amazing what Vandy has done so far in the chain.
There's no question about that. A text on the Titan & More text line from Rick in Jupiter says, QB Allie Peak reported on the Buddy Martin show last night that she's aware of a contract offer to Lane from Ole Miss for 8 years at $13.5 million a year. Do you think we can A, beat it, B, have the balls to be aggressive and beat that contract? I'd heard that too about, look, Ole Miss is trying to get him locked up.
Sure.
In my opinion, he is not going to sign anything. Do I think we can match that or beat that? Absolutely, and I think we will. I absolutely think we will, and I think he will be our coach next year. Brent, yards per play for these SEC teams. The leader does not surprise me because it's Arkansas. You can kind of give us a rundown of the others. The worst team in the league in yards per play are the Auburn Tigers. But Arkansas, they can't stop anybody. They played a little bit better defensively since Petrino's taken over. But Taylon Green, I mean, he is just playing as well as any quarterback in America.
He really is. And because of the Arkansas defense, which is so bad, I mean, they've allowed like 39 points a game as of late, but Arkansas 7.3, Tennessee 6.4, A&M 6.4, Ole Miss is 6.2, Florida is 5.9. Again, these are yards per play. Vandy's 5.7, Bama's 5.6. I won't go into all of them, but as you mentioned, Oklahoma is only 4.4. They're 15. Auburn is 4.2, and they are 16. So, again, yards per play, it doesn't always tell us everything, but it certainly tells us some things. And, boy, if Bobby Petrino had a defense match his offense, they'd be dangerous, wouldn't they, Shane?
Yeah, they definitely would. No question about that. The Pouncey twins, Mike and Marquise, invite you to try the mango martinis at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, handcrafted with their J.F. Hayden liqueurs. Try those flavors and find your favorite at shopjfhaydens.com. Brent, let's go around the SEC. Alabama's at South Carolina. I believe I know Coach Spurrier will be at South Carolina. They're having a reunion for whatever team. The last time Alabama came to South Carolina, they were number one in America. South Carolina beat them. So whatever team that is, I just don't see how South Carolina can match up with Bama. I think they're playing as well as anybody in America.
Yeah, they really have been. 4 straight wins over ranked opponents, which is an SEC record. Shane, where they're really playing well is at the end of the first half. They have scored 35 points in the last minute of the first half through 7 games. So that has made a big difference. And the reason that's helped them is they frankly struggled in the first few minutes of the third quarter. South Carolina is also struggling. One of the real ironies, and you get these in football from time to time, the South Carolina offensive coordinator is none other than Mike Shula, who used to coach Alabama back in the early 2000s, and he is struggling. 15 points a game that South Carolina is averaging at this point. I won't go into all the stats, but total offense, that there's 136 Division I teams. South Carolina is 127 in total offense at barely below 300 yards per game. Sacks allowed, they're 133 out of 136. So, but again, what needs to be said here is Alabama under DeBoer, particularly last year, and they're changing this some this year, really used to do well with the high-ranked teams and struggle with teams like South Carolina. So we'll see how this goes. But Shane, to your point, they've got a good quarterback on the North Sellers, but they are really struggling offensively.
Yes, indeed. A huge game, even though people really don't care, is Auburn's at Arkansas. And the reason I say that, I still think Hugh Freeze is going to get fired at the end of the year. Yep. What do you say, Brent?
Well, I think there's a real chance of that. I mean, they are really struggling. They're 0-4 in SEC play. The game is at Arkansas. Now, by the way, Hugh's buyout is $15 million with that. Now, if people haven't heard this, this came out basically yesterday, and it came from something called the Yellowhammer News, which is a publication in Alabama. But one of the SEC officials, Ken Williamson, has been permanently suspended after the Auburn-Georgia game where they had a lot of, and I mean a lot of controversial calls. So I'll leave it at that. As far as we know that officials have been suspended, but maybe not permanently. So this is a little bit different than what we're used to. But yes, to say the least, this is a big game for both of these teams, Auburn and Arkansas, coming up Saturday.
Yep. All right. So the Gators fire Billy Napier, have a week off getting ready for Georgia. Ryan O'Hara is going to be calling the plays.
Mm-hmm.
I said on the show the other day, it would be so much fun to be Billy Gonzalez right now, Brent, because you can do whatever the hell you want to do.
Really?
And it's not going to change your job security. It's not going to do anything. I would be running fake punts. I would be running reverses, double passes, blitzing, trying to block every punt.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Florida situation right now?
Well, I mean, they're doing the best they can do. Steve Spurrier Jr. on the sideline with the quarterbacks. I think that's pretty interesting, too. Ryan O'Hara will move to the booth to call the plays, instead of, I guess, on the sidelines with that. So, but, I mean, they're looking and doing their due diligence at this point. They're in the mix with a lot of other teams who have fired coaches at this point. I think the thing that we're not used to, Shane, is having this many coaches who have been fired before we even get to November. I mean, obviously it used to happen after the season, and we understand that, but the urgency to change coaches now is really going into another gear, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Frank from Chicago on the Titan MR text line says, I would think right now Ole Miss would be frantically trying to sign Lane to an extension. If he doesn't sign an extension in the next few weeks, I think he must be considering jumping. Your thoughts? I personally do not think you'll see an extension signed. Look, I have a great listener who very, very big time businessman, but he sent me all these things comparing the Ole Miss athletic departments and football programs from a financial standpoint. I'm just going to read them here briefly. The athletic program in 2024, this is the full athletic program, gross profit, Florida, over $16 million. Ole Miss lost over $5 million. Football program valuation from 2024, the Gators, well over $1 million. Ole Miss was in the red at $595,000. So there's no comparison. I called a lot of crap with some stuff I said on some shows about the brands. There's no comparison.
No.
There's zero.
No.
Zero comparison. That's what's funny to me. Okay, so let's jump down to the Georgia. Obviously, Georgia's coming off a big win over Ole Miss. Gets a bye week. Brent, this Georgia team is not a normal Kirby Smart team. They're not dominant on defense like they've been, but they're gutsy and they find ways to win football games.
They do. They really do, and they had a huge win over Ole Miss. The numbers with Gunnar Stockton in that game really tell you a lot. 26 of 31. That's an incredible day. 348, 5 total touchdowns. He rushed for nearly 60 yards. Now, he is this is an interesting stat. He is the first quarterback to go 12 of 12 or better in half against an AP top 5 opponent since Aaron Rodgers did it when he was at Cal versus number 1 USC in 2004. That says a lot there. And then Stockton, and you can explain this, Shane, but better than anybody, but what they're doing with Stockton, they brought him along carefully, and what he's doing now is he's throwing more downfield, which is, and Lawson Lucky caught 3 of his passes with that. So it was a big game, big win for Georgia. They rushed for 221. They threw for 289, which is really good. The defense was good. Unfortunately, they did lose Kobe Young. He fractured his leg on a play. So that was and Shane, and this is something you've said over the years, the Georgia offensive line was intact for only the second time this year. They've had a lot of injuries. They've mixed and matched, but they were all together for the second time, and it made a huge difference too.
Yes, indeed. On Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, Joe says, now that Lane has reconciled with Layla, I'm sure she would love for him. Well, they're not together. She lives in California and in Oxford. I think they're trying, but they're not back together. Brent, we got the LSU is hosting the Texas A&M Aggies, who are having a hell of a year. Brian Kelly, I think he's going to get fired at the end of the year too. He may get fired after this game if they lose it.
Right.
But what's crazy is if people are into trends, LSU is going to win the game.
yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Yes, and look, A&M is undefeated and in the top 5. I mean that's amazing when you think about that. Frankly, now for LSU, Ashton Stamps, one of their cornerbacks, is announced this week that he is transferring. If you're looking for trends, the home team has won the last 8 meetings in this series. Now, that often means nothing, but we're throwing that out there. But in the games, obviously, at LSU. But again, A&M really is playing well on both sides of the ball. I give them a lot of credit. Now, Kelly for LSU, the head coach, is now 5-10 against ranked opponents after the Vanderbilt loss. Vanderbilt really played well with that. And to Shane's point here again, if people are wondering, Kelly's buyout is $53 million. That's a lot of money in it, Shane. But the reality is, if teams and schools are struggling, they're willing to pay it too.
They really are. Reggie brings up a good point. I should have mentioned this myself on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, referring to the rumors out there of the contract that's sitting on Lane's desk. Ole Miss cannot offer an 8-year deal because there's a Mississippi state law that you can only allow contracts for 4 years at a time. So yeah, that he is exactly correct. I failed to mention that, but Florida can offer a 7 or 8 year deal easily, but you cannot do that in the state of Mississippi. Brent, interesting game. Kentucky, who played really well last week, probably should have won the game. Host Tennessee. This is the beer barrel game or something along those lines?
Yeah. All these rivalries have got some kind of a name to them. Yeah, that's true. Kentucky really struggling right now offensively. They're averaging 18 points a game in the SEC play. Joey Aguilar sacked 4 times in the loss to Alabama. And look, the Aguilar does some really good things. He makes some mistakes too, which is why he has a lot of interceptions. And the balls have struggled. They made some mistakes. And without going into too much of it, this is always a big rivalry. So this will be a game worth watching. And look, there's still a lot of speculation. Does Mark Stoops at Kentucky, does he and the school make an agreement for him to part ways at the end of the year? That's another coach to watch also. I mean, Shane, we virtually really had zero movement in the coaches in the SEC last year. This year is going to be very different.
Oh, there's no question. Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators, joined today to help make Florida victorious. A few more minutes for Brent here. Brent, the big one, game day is in Nashville for Missouri at Vandy. This is not just a big game within the conference. This is a playoff. You lose it, you're probably out of the playoff mix.
Yeah. I mean, what Shane's talking about is that this very well may be a possible elimination game for whoever loses it. And again, but people need to let this sink in for a minute, is game day is in Nashville. I mean, that, Shane, would we have, a few years ago, would we have ever imagined anything like this? I mean, it's the biggest game in the conference. Vandy is playing very well. Now, Mizzou's won the last 5 meetings, and we understand that. Two, Diego Pavia is playing very well. Bo Pribula is too. So, I mean, it really is amazing, frankly, at how well Vanderbilt's playing. Had a big win over LSU last week. So, and Tim Beck is doing a really good job at Vanderbilt as offensive coordinator. I don't know if you know him or not, but and this is staggering when you think about this, Shane. Vandy is 6-1 for the first time since 1950.
Wow. Yep. It's a remarkable story, no question about that. The other huge one in the conference, Ole Miss at Oklahoma. You would think whoever loses this will diminish their chances of making the playoffs. I know Oklahoma has a very, very tough schedule, I think, towards the end of the season. I'm not so sure about Ole Miss's schedule. I don't have it in front of me. Huge game for them going on the road. How you see this playing out?
Yeah, this is going to be a big game. And to your point, Oklahoma has got a humongous game in Tuscaloosa in mid-November that they'll be looking at. Now, Trinidad Chambliss struggled somewhat last week in the fourth quarter against Georgia. Ole Miss had less than 20 yards, which is amazing for them, frankly. John Mateer, the Oklahoma quarterback, is getting healthier. The thumb injury has that kind of threatened his season. I think he's going to be okay at this point, but there's no doubt that this is a huge game, to say the least. And another reason why the SEC is they have that triple header on ABC, and this is a great example of why the SEC is doing so well in the ratings on television.
Yeah, a big game in Starkville. The Texas Longhorns are rolling into town. Texas still only has one loss in the conference. They have not played well at all.
No.
Would not shock me if Mississippi State won their first SEC game in quite some time. Should be an interesting game there in Stark Vegas.
Yeah, it really will. Colin Simmons, the Texas edge rusher, is really come on, had 5 sacks in the last 2 games. That's pretty impressive, frankly. I mean, Texas is still alive in the race. Now, during the Kentucky game, Texas had 179 yards of offense, 8 first downs, 74th in yards per play now, 1 offensive touchdown in 3 or 4 power conference games. Shane, how in the world do they have that kind of record with that they played offensively? Is amazing, isn't it?
It really is. I'm looking at the ACC. Boy, the semis, Brent, it's a mess there.
It
is. They haven't beaten anybody worth a damn in a long time.
No, it's been quite a while.
I mean, Alabama, obviously, but take the Alabama game out of it. Been a lot of the, small FCS schools.
Well, since the Orange Bowl debacle, FSU is 5-14 under Mike Norvell. Now, there won't be anything that's decided on him, we understand now, until the end of the season. So that, and look, this could happen too. But the reality of this is, in money talks, his buyout is around $55 million. So the question that we're hearing is, can FSU afford that? But Shane, if they continue and they have a poor November, can they afford not to do it? So that's kind of the situation that not only the FSU would, but we've got that at other schools. Yeah,
give us some nuggets, Brent.
Yeah, and also, I'm curious, Shane. I know it's not SEC. How impressed are you with Georgia Tech in the season they've got? They host Syracuse. Haynes King is doing extremely well, and they deserve a lot of credit. Big win for Louisville last week over Miami. They host Boston College. Miami hosts Stanford. Carson Beck trying to recover from 4 picks. that he threw in that game. So, and Virginia is at 6-1 and reached bowl eligibility and one of the better teams in the ACC right now.
Yeah, Tech's they're a fun team to watch. They're not going to wow you. They're tough. I do think, though, the best – now, having watched – I mean, Miami's okay. Mm-hmm. I think I still don't know how Louisville lost to Virginia.
Really?
I'd have to go back and watch that game because I think they're probably the best team in the league.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's people talking about, what about Jeff Brom? I've always been a huge fan of Jeff Brom going back to his Western Kentucky days. I think he's as good a play caller as anybody, but I just don't see how anybody wants to leave their alma mater when they're the head coach. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, yeah.
Brent, great stuff as always, and have a good weekend watching ball, and we will talk to you next week.
You too, brother. Take care. Thanks.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Titan MRI hotline. Rose Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit OgreInsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We'll take a quick time out, come back, and you'll have a win with JC. He'll give you multiple winners for this weekend. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Landeros Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, UF Health Orthopedics. Our gridiron sponsors are Baker's Sports, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, and MG&A Wealth. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And if you want to advertise, give my man Freddie a call at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers, setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
The jewelry store with the most likes, the most positive reviews, the most raving fans is International Diamond Center.
IDC is definitely a place that I will come to as long as I live here. This will be my go-to place always.
Literally the best jewelry store in town. You'll make friends for life coming in here. I felt like family from the beginning. The value was extraordinary.
I've got a beautiful diamond on my finger and I'm very proud of it.
International Diamond Center.
I'm very happy to show it off.
At Celebration Point and online at shopidc.com.
Coach, you know what always impressed me, how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering. Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome as we continue on from PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. This is JC, John Cornell. I'm going to be joined with Zach Rothrock here in a moment as we get ready to win with JC. The next 30 minutes, this is my favorite segment of the week. My favorite segment of the week is we try to make you some money, looking at trends, looking at things that are happening going forward this weekend in both college football, NFL football, and in the World Series, which begins tomorrow night in Toronto between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. If you'd like to contribute to this, you may go ahead and do so. Zach's got Facebook Live. I'll be looking in on YouTube Live, and we'll try to find out what you guys think as you watch and journey with us in the next 30 minutes to try to find out some winners in college football this weekend. The board looks pretty good. It doesn't look, I don't think, as attractive as last week's games, but there's plenty of opportunity and plenty of winners to lock into this weekend as we get ready in week 9 of college football and in the NFL. And obviously, last week, some crazy things happening in both college and NFL football. I still can't get over that Denver game where if you had the New York Giants on the money line, you lost a 33-point lead in 15 minutes. That was hard to swallow. But we've got some angles and some trends and some things that I've looked up that will try to help us get navigated through the NFL slate that at least I think is an opportunity for us to win. We'll start with college football. And really, I'd like to just start with the teams that I like to win as they play this weekend in the SEC. Specifically, there's a couple of games that I think that are very attractive in terms of our best bets for this weekend. And my best bets, sometimes they're what I like now. The game starts live, and you never know if you like it because it turns out very different than what the game opened at. As I bring in Zach, I look at some of these games in the SEC, Zach, and I'm going to start with Vanderbilt Commodores, my man. The Vanderbilt Commodores are playing at a very high level. They are favored at home against Eli Drinkwitz and the Missouri Tigers, and they're laying 2.5 points. And when I watched this game, when I watched Vandy last week against LSU, I really had no fear that they were going to cover that short number against the Tigers, basically because of LSU's offense and Vandy's defense. In this game, I don't see a whole lot of different trends. Vanderbilt is a 2.5-point favorite. They'll be playing at home. Missouri coming off a big win at Auburn. In the game, they basically trailed the whole day. I'm going to stay with Vanderbilt and continue on and hope that they still win this trend. It's 6-1 right now. They are playing for a playoff spot, which is unbelievable to me. I also like Louisiana.
Well, can we? So on this game, real quick, I definitely like Vanderbilt, and I see what you're saying, and that was a good call last week with LSU. I think that the bet that I would like the most on this game would be the under the point total. The reason for that is I really see Missouri trying to take Dylan Pavia out of the game as much as they can. They have a really great rushing attack. They average 245 rush yards per game. They also allow the second least rush yards per game in the whole country. So I just kind of see them trying to do that ground and pound clock control. I don't necessarily know that's going to work for them to win the game or even cover with plus 2.5, but I do really like the under of the point total.
Well, this is one of those systems that I look at, and in games featuring 2 ranked teams since 2017, home teams are 210 and 104 straight up. 183, 122, and 9 against the spread. That's 60%. The 3 teams in the SEC that line up in that system are Vanderbilt minus 2.5, LSU plus 2.5, and Oklahoma minus 5. Oklahoma's playing Mississippi. I'll get to Mississippi in a moment. Vanderbilt is the play for me, and I do agree with your under. I think the under makes a lot of sense in that game. Missouri is 1-18 straight up in its last 19 games against top 10 SEC teams. Vanderbilt's a top 10 SEC team. I would fade Missouri big time. However, they are 11-2 against the spread in road neutral games the last 2 seasons. I don't think Vanderbilt's a neutral site anymore. I think they've actually got fans. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Vanderbilt Commodores. Let's go to LSU. LSU's playing at night. LSU is playing the Texas A&M Aggies. Aggies coming in very hot, a very good team right now, highly ranked. Mike Elko seems to have it going in all directions. You got a feeling on LSU and Texas A&M?
Well, I definitely like your logic of taking the LSU Tigers with points at home.
At home at night?
Yeah, at home and at night, because they always play at night, of course. My cause for concern is this game is I think the Texas A&M defensive line unit is one of the best and most dominant units in all of football. They kind of proved that when, well, I don't know if they necessarily proved it against Florida, but they showed up against Florida at least. So I do like LSU's firepower, and I do like their ability to cover at home, and I am with you on that. I would kind of like to look and see if we can get that number more like 3.5 versus 2.5 to get us that hook to cover the field goal. But I'm with you. I don't really have a big pushback on this. I like getting the LSU with points at home. I think they could easily win outright.
Texas A&M is 5-2 straight up, and they are 4-12-2 against the spread. That's 25% on the road since 2021. The only difference is Mike Elko wasn't there in 2021. This is a much different team, but I'm still fading Texas A&M. I like LSU at home. If you can buy it up to 3.5, as long as it's not too juicy on Hard Rock, because Lord knows the Hard Rock will juice you to death. I think you have to take LSU. Finally, let's go up to Norman, Oklahoma, not far from where I'm at. I'm in Dallas, Texas, actually McKinney, Texas right now. Love it here. They've got the Sooners and the Mississippi Rebels. Ole Miss, all we talk about this whole week with Shane is Lane Kiffin. I'm reading now Rhett Lashley as a potential coach for the Florida Gators, the coach at Southern Methodist. He's here in Dallas, by the way, and they're worried about losing him at SMU as well. So now Rhett Lashley's name gets thrown around a lot here lately, but it's all about Lane Kiffin. That's all I've heard about. That has to be distracting. The game against Georgia last week was so exhausting for Mississippi. They had a lead in the fourth quarter. They lost it. Ole Miss is 11-22-2. That's 33% against the spread in conference games since 2021. I could not believe that trend. 11-22-2. 1 out of 3 against the spread in conference games since 2021. Mississippi is catching 5.5. There are some 4.5s out there. I have to say I like Mississippi. I've always liked them. I just don't know if it's enough going into Norman, Oklahoma, coming off that game in Athens. Also, the Sooners getting it together with Mateer at South Carolina last week, coming off that Texas debacle. I gotta like Oklahoma here.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I would lean towards Ole Miss. I really like Lane Kiffin. I really like their offense and all of that. I feel like Oklahoma's been very up and down. Getting a get-right game at South Carolina was very fortunate. I feel like South Carolina can't stop any type of pass rush or get any type of run. That's on them at this point. To me, it really comes down to John Mateer's hand. Is his hand back and healthy? It looked really good last week, so I think it's good. I would just like taking the over in this game. I know Oklahoma's got a really great defense, but I don't think that Ole Miss and his offense care about that really that much. But yeah, if you want to take the Sooners at home catching points, I don't have a big pushback against that. They got a really great defense and they got a good system going.
They are 2-6 against the spread as a road underdog. Ole Miss, that is, under Lane Kiffin. This from Brian Edwards, a contributor to the show at Vegas B. Edwards. 2-6 against the spread as a road dog. Oklahoma's 13-7 against the spread as a home favorite with Brent Venables. The under is 7-0 overall for Oklahoma since Venables has been there in these situations.
Wow.
And then the over is 4-3 for Ole Miss on the road this year.
Okay.
So we've got a couple things here on YouTube. LSU's getting rolled according to MSRK 141. So obviously he's all about the Aggies right now. And what did Arkansas do to score 42 points against Texas A&M? This from Gator Man. Arkansas lit them up. Well, I think it's a combination of Bobby Petrino, their quarterback who literally can run 100 yards in 5 seconds, and the fact that their defense is so bad, they're not on the field that long, and the offense just gets back out there and has another opportunity over and over again to try to come from behind. That's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to win games like that. But thank you for that, Gator Man. We'll see what we can do about Arkansas.
Yeah, and on Facebook, Dan Bond is with you. He also likes LSU plus 2.5 at home.
LSU, okay. Dan Dallas, gotta love that. You got any other? So let me move on. So we've covered those 3 Southeastern Conference games, best bets. A couple of others I'd add. I kind of like the LSU over 47.5 in that game. I like the Arkansas over with Auburn at 57.5.
You mean that's the
ahead.
The LSU, that's the whole game total, right? 47.5 LSU versus
47.
Texas A&M. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I like that. I think that's good. I think we're going over that number probably by the third quarter. I know that Texas A&M plays good defense, but you get into a track meet with them, and Marcel Reed will just start Marcel Reed things. LSU's been good on defense. It kind of goes against that number and against that trend, but I think I like the over in that game. I love Texas Tech over 56.5, and I just think those are some overs that will come in because at night it just seems like more points get on the scoreboard. I don't know if that's something I've noticed or if that's actually a thing or not. I'm not
Texas
sure.
Tech, they're playing Oklahoma State. That's correct.
Yeah, Oklahoma State.
It feels like they may have quit, so that would be a team that I could see a game going over the point total for sure.
Well, here's a conference trend for you. Big 12 home favorites of 21 points or more. Texas Tech is a 38.5 point favorite. Guns up. 21 points or more have seen totals go over at a 71% clip since 2016. So definitely you want to look at, if you're into the trends, you want to look at the over 56.5. I think Texas Tech could get 56.5 by themselves. So I also mentioned the Texas A&M LSU number at 47.5. I like that, as we mentioned before. Here's some trends in the Big Ten also. Nebraska, Northwestern. Nebraska is 3-13 against the spread in the last 17 games as a Big Ten favorite. They are 7.5 point favorites over Northwestern. That coach at Northwestern has done a remarkable job for a school that doesn't even have a home field right now. They're building a new stadium. Northwestern's getting plus 7.5. It's hard to take teams like that, but I have to say, if they cover and all bets cash the same, you got to look at some trends to try to get an edge.
I like it. That Nebraska quarterback, Raiola, he's very prone to turning the ball over. So, I definitely like if I can get a team catching points against them for sure.
Take Northwestern plus 7. And what about Mississippi State and Texas? Back to the SEC again. I'm jumping all around here, but I'm just looking for games that stick out. The games that just stick out. I love some of these. Mississippi State is catching 6.5, or you can also maybe find 7 against the Texas Longhorns, who, Shane's boy, Arch Manning, has been nothing but an abysmal disappointment this year. Truly has. I mean, all the hype this guy gets with the Warby Parker glasses, everything else. It's unbelievable, this guy. He's so inept. And I don't know if that's the offensive line or the lack of a running game, but he sucks. Mississippi State plus 7 versus Texas. Mississippi State last week had Florida on the ropes. Mississippi State hasn't won an SEC game in 13 or 14 games. At some point, when is it all going to change? I like the under in this game. The total in this game is 45.5. I usually don't take mid-40s unders in college football, but Texas can play some defense. Mississippi State, I think it's going to light up the scoreboard, but they are 58.9% to the under since 2021, Mississippi State is, and they are 62.5% against the spread at home since 2021, Mississippi State is, and that includes last year's abysmal season. Take Mississippi State plus a 7, play the under at 45.5.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I like a good home underdog. It feels like Texas really just kind of put all their eggs in the one basket of playing a good game against Oklahoma, and they've been really down, just up in that one game and down everywhere else. So, I'm with you on that one.
So, I also want to touch on the NFL. We are limited with our time. 30 minutes here on Win with JC. So, I'm just trying to give you guys some edges that I noticed yesterday traveling to Dallas, and, of course, before I got on the plane. By the way, great flight on American Airlines yesterday. They gave me food. The flight, I did not see a cloud from Gainesville, Florida to Dallas, Texas in the entire sky. All the way from the Eastern time zone to the Central, 965 miles, not one cloud in the sky. It was maybe one of the best flights I've had in years. All right, so in the National Football League, Zach, we have a game tonight. I know you love the NFL. You're a big NFL guy. Understand that.
More than college,
And we've got a good game tonight on Amazon Prime, the Chargers and the Vikings. Now, the Vikings will not have J.J. McCarthy in this game. They're going to go with, we're going to get the Carson Wentz show week 2. And then the Chargers laying 3 points at home, coming off a loss. This is a Jim Harbaugh team that battles hard, but the injury situation has been tough with them. I'm going to take the Chargers laying the 3 at home. I think the Chargers are due to win this game at home by at least a touchdown, only because I just don't think Minnesota has found it yet with their quarterback and eventually the defense is going to be in trouble. This is the 8th, let's see, net yards per play. Minnesota, okay. So the Chargers are 8th in opponent-adjusted net yards per play. Whatever the hell that means. That sounds good. Minnesota is 17th. Basically, that means that the big plays have beaten the Chargers this year, not the long drives, not the dominant performance. Minnesota 1-7 in the red zone last week versus Philly. I had the Eagles last week against Minnesota. I felt it was an easy bet. I think the Chargers tonight on Amazon, -3.
Yeah, so I like it, and I like the Chargers in general for a lot of the reasons you said. I don't love their offensive line problems they've had. I know that Joe Alt is trending towards playing. They're getting some of those tackles back, so that's definitely good on their front. But I just really don't think this is a great matchup for the Chargers. The Vikings front seven, they get after it hard. I could see Herbert having a real tough time. The Chargers could have a hard time getting their run game going as well. But the big thing is, as you mentioned, Carson Wentz will be starting. So do we get good Carson Wentz or do we get turnover Carson Wentz? That's the thing. But to me, I feel like flying by the seat of my pants. I kind of like the Minnesota Vikings straight up to get the win money line in Chargers. Yeah, why not?
Really? You think that the Vikings are going to score on the Chargers? Okay, I got you.
Yeah, because if Carson Wentz is good, he's the best damn quarterback in the league. If he's really playing like at his best, now the problem is he doesn't play at his best for long stretches ever. But for one magical Thursday night football game, I can see us getting good Carson Wentz. Yeah.
Kevin Saunders, 80-12, wants us to do a 3-leg early game parlay in the NCAA tomorrow. Appreciate that. I'll try to get one in for you. You can take those 3 SEC games we talked about earlier in this program, and the Tennessee-Kentucky game. Tyler, go Gators. How do you feel about Tennessee dominating Kentucky? That's a 9.5-point number. I love Tennessee dominating Kentucky. Now, listen, Kentucky played Texas very tight last week. Tennessee had a war against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Physical game, very difficult to win in Tuscaloosa at night. Nobody talks about that for some reason. It's always Death Valley, which, by the way, I like to call Happy Valley because when Alabama plays LSU, it's always a good night. So in Baton Rouge, so Happy Valley. But, the Tennessee-Kentucky game has to be Tennessee. I just can't trust the Kentucky Wildcats. I'll get back to that in a moment. Back to the NFL, Zach. We're bouncing around, but we have to do it this way. Yeah. San Francisco and Houston is another game I love. I love the 49ers. Why? Because it comes down to the trust issue. Who do you trust, Kyle Shanahan or D'Amico Ryans scoring points? Nico Collins now out for the Texans. Just another difficult situation. Everybody's out for the 49ers, but they have 2 players. They have Mac Jones and they have Christian McCaffrey. And both those guys are healthy. I trust Shanahan. With Collins being out, the Niners catching 1.5 at Houston, I'm all over the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I'm very much with you on this. I feel like the wrong team is favored. I do understand why Houston is favored because of all the aforementioned injuries, but like you said, Houston has their own injuries, and I think San Francisco's got a massive coaching advantage in this. So, and then Houston just can't get out of their own way anyway. C.J. Stroud seems to have regressed severely. So yeah, that's one of all the bets you sent me. This is probably the one that I like the most.
2 other NFL games that I noticed, Cincinnati laying 6.5 to the Jets. The Jets can't score. They won't score even against that pathetic Bengals defense. I would take Flacco and the Bengals there at home against the pathetic, the Ponzi scheme known as the New York Jets.
Yeah, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the Philadelphia Eagles. They kind of got right last week in Minnesota. The Giants lost a game that was literally impossible to lose, but they got into prevent. They tried not to win. Brian Dable, don't know what he's doing. The Giants have lost some heartbreakers this year. They beat the Eagles a couple of weeks ago in New York. In New Jersey. They are catching 7.5. It's hard for me to see them on Sunday afternoon coming off that Denver debacle, and it was a fiasco. 33 points unanswered in the fourth quarter. That's almost logistically impossible if you just hold on to the football, which they didn't. They turned it over, and they punted. The Eagles led 7.5 to me sounds like a layup.
Yeah, I'm very much with you on that. I agree with everything you said. But me personally, I don't like laying that many points in a divisional matchup. The scores tend to be pretty close. So if I had to pick a side on this with about the same odds, I would take the under 44.5. I could just see it being a muddy, just slow game.
I could definitely see that. So there's four NFL games. You have any other NFL picks that you've come up with yourself? I know you were talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers for whatever reason. I don't know why they forgot how to tackle people. But why don't you tell
that
us,
is true.
Well, why do you like the Steelers? What's the story with
with the Steelers, for that aspect, I have confidence in the fact their offense looks good, and I think their defense could eventually potentially get it better. But for this standalone game, just ignore all that. Let's just look at the fact that Mike Tomlin in a home primetime game is 27-8 all time, severely better than the road primetime game, and also his teams are 5-1 in their last 6 games following a Thursday night football loss. When you get that kind of like a half bye, that 10-day bye week. So I just kind of like following those type of trends, and the fact that it's going to be Aaron Rodgers versus the Packers and all this and that, I don't really care about that as much. But these Mike Tomlin teams, they tend to bounce back. They tend to perform well at home. I can get the Steelers plus 3.5 points. I feel like I got to take that.
Well, Aaron Rodgers will keep you in the game. There's no doubt about that.
He's been playing very, very well.
And it'll be a close game. Typically, that's where you want that key number 3.
You get the hook.
If you can catch a half point on top of that key number, you jump on it.
Yeah.
Another couple of other trends real quick as we rapidly race through 30 minutes. Georgia Tech, 11, 23, and 1 against the spread. That's 32% as a favorite since 2018. Georgia Tech is laying 17.5 at home against Syracuse. These are huge numbers. I'm not a big numbers guy, a huge numbers guy when it comes to laying points. I can't really feel comfortable with that. But if you want to look at trends and spreads and so forth, believe me, they see the same thing we see. Another one, Iowa State in the Big 12, 35-18 and 1 against the spread. That's 66% following up a straight-up loss since 2015. That's 10 years. They are laying 2.5 to the red-hot BYU Cougars, who won the Holy War, coming off a very emotional game. I think Iowa State's laying in the weeds, waiting for BYU. At home, laying less than a field goal. Yes, on Iowa State. Absolutely, yes. The Navy, anchors down. No, that's Vanderbilt. Navy, 16-9 against the spread, 64% following a straight-up win in the last 4 seasons. Who do they have? They have the FAU Owls. Again, huge number, 15.5. That's the thing about this whole weekend, this card this weekend that scares me is these massive lines. But you get blowouts.
Yeah.
Blowouts are very, those are rocking
they
chair
happen,
wins.
they happen every day.
Like you're sitting in a rocking chair, baby, and you're just chilling. Again, Michigan 20-9 against the spread, 70% in road neutral / games in the last 4 seasons. Playing at East Lansing, Michigan will have as many fans as Michigan State. Michigan is laying 2 touchdowns. I'm not big on the Wolverines, but they kind of got right last week. They are laying 2 touchdowns to the Spartans. Tough to do that in a rivalry game, but that just tells you how bad Michigan State is.
Yeah, so I like that one a lot. They're the far bigger, more physical team for sure. So they should be able to take advantage of that.
So I think, so basically, if I had more time, I'd jump on some of these NFL props and some of these college props with you as well. I have an easier time of doing that on game day because of the injury report. So it's hard for me on Thursday to list Sunday props. And I appreciate Gatorman asking for some NFL props. He says, I went 2 out of 3 on the last few weeks. The Lions point total lost. Yeah, but listen, I think, I don't know. I just think that props are game day type of bets that you make only because of the injury report and some of the other things that may come into play. You just never know how somebody's feeling, Maybe his wife is yelling at him. His dog got run over, before he got on the plane, fly across the country and so forth. A couple of other quickies for you before we get out of here. California 29-16, 64% as an underdog against the spread. They're getting 4.5 at Virginia Tech, who has no coach. Charlotte, University of North Carolina, Charlotte. I can't believe it. Listen, all bets cash the same. Charlotte 5-18. That's 21.7% against the spread in the last 23 home games. The Mean Green, 20 minutes away from here, is a 26.5 point favorite at Charlotte. I don't care where the game is. North Texas will score 50 or 60 points in that game. It's going to be a cruise. I think Charlotte goes to 5-19, less than 20% against the spread in their last 23 home games. They have no home field advantage whatsoever. Those are the best trends and some of the best edges I could find for this weekend, Zach. You got anything else before we trip out of here, brother?
Another one I really like a lot is Dallas-Denver over 51.5. It is more about Dallas than anything else. I just like the over in about every game they play in, honestly.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Everybody's kind of fired up about the Cowboys here right now. Brian Schottenheimer is the new face. Mike McCarthy is, thank God he's gone. And maybe Dallas has a chance now in every game if they don't turn the ball over and don't expose that defense. Listen, Win with JC is on every Thursday. Zach is with me. Sometimes we bring in the great Brian Edwards. We need support on this show, just as you support PodUp with Matthews in the morning, where I come on with Shane Matthews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 o'clock. And we love the support. Peachland Dental, my man Joe Lawson, and so forth. If you'd like to support us here, we've got great prices, great discounts to try to get your name out there on the screen while everybody watches our edges and our picks going into the weekend. We're going to keep this going through basketball season as well. But to do that, we need support. Call Freddie Wiebe, my executive producer, 352-284-3733. Once again, Freddie Wiebe, 352-284-3733. Zach, you are awesome as always. We'll have you again, of course, every week. I want to thank everybody for spending the last 30 minutes with me here as we try to win with JC this weekend. Go back. I know we threw a lot at you. You can always go back and once the show is archived and go back and see what we're looking at. But I really like some of the picks we have. I hope you all win a lot of money. Good luck with your bets this weekend and have a great time. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock with Shane on PodUp with Matthews.